Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. It is Sunday, the 23rd of November. A lot of things have been happening, especially with what I'd call probably a slight sprinkling of news that we have seen that will probably get worse. And that's the threat to do with this commercial real estate, commercial property that I've been talking about, the foreclosures on businesses and lots of those real estate companies. Now, I will get that to that in a minute, but something that was even more interesting this week, because you all know that I do like to have a bit of a trade on the market, was the bonds. There was a huge run up in the bonds, and I went back historically and had a look at the chart, and it hasn't happened. This run we've had on bonds has not happened for at least 30 years, people. 30 years. Now, I'll give you a little tip here. And with all my experience, something this big doesn't happen unless there's some sort of specific news to come out, a big news item coming out. So I would expect that to happen maybe next week. Normally in any environment, the technicals precede the fundamentals, which basically means when you see a big run up on stocks in price before something fundamentally happens, and there hasn't been really no big news this week, that's when you normally see a big run up on stocks. So I'll be expecting some really big piece of news next week to come out maybe. And I mean, in saying that, it could be to do with the bonds and stocks as well. The commercial real estate was really cratered the other day, where there was fears of fast weakening US economy that would lead to a wave of defaults on loans for office buildings and retail stores and hotels. Many of the commercial mortgage-backed securities have been shattered as well. And it's not just these leveraged loans that are the problem. There were many loans in recent years that were made on the expectation that property values and cash flows from rent from different people who bought those rents were likely to continue to rise, and that would leave them in a pretty good situation. Unfortunately, as you have seen over the last 6 to 12 months, things have really hit not only the financial markets but all these businesses as well. So all these big mortgage companies relying on these businesses to thrive throughout this time are in a lot of trouble. It's going to make the average person and their house foreclosing, it's going to make that look like a walk in the park. And at the moment, no one wants anything to do with the stock market or anything to do with real estate. So expect an absolute whirlwind in that area in the next couple of months. I mean, we've heard a few snippets and a few things. It's actually come on a lot quicker than what I thought, but you will be hearing a lot more about this in time to come. I guess something also too important was some of these big real estate companies were hit hard last week too. Stuff like Simon Property Group and Boston Properties. You know, some of these big real estate companies that own skyscrapers in the multi-millions of dollars, sometimes trillions of dollars, which are taking the biggest hits, obviously. And it's not only that. I think in the last video I talked about some of the malls. Well, the malls and some of their operators are in really big trouble too. And when this problem gets worse, some of these malls are just going to empty out. There's no one to spend money. There's no one making money. It's going to be these barren ghost towns with tumbleweed blowing through. And all this is tied in with some of the commercial properties and the darkening economic reports that point to disappointing retail sales already. And throughout Christmas, it's going to be even worse. People are getting unemployed, they have no money to spend, there's rising foreclosures, and the forecast for a mild recession, which now is pretty much off the table, and it's looking like the depression is coming on very quickly. What I'm guessing is, now that they've sort of hinted this is going to be a problem, and they haven't reported any more since that time, well, people have just sort of, put their hands back, thrown their hands in the air, and sort of thought, well, it mustn't be a very big problem that they're making it out to be. But it's a huge problem. And this commercial real estate problem is not over by a long shot, that's for sure. And now, it's pretty close to the end of the year. And while the politicians and the congressmen have been saying, things will get better, have they? No. The depression that people were saying won't happen? Well, I can tell you, I get at least 3 to 4, 5, sometimes 5 messages a day just from the average person saying they're already starting to see the effects. And if you've been watching my videos, I can't say I'm surprised, because unfortunately we don't go up from here. We're basically going to keep digging in the trenches. And while all these people have been saying, the government is right with all these bailouts, have they been? No. Do I think it's a mess? Yes, it's an awful mess. And eventually we will come out in the clear, the other side. And yes, I am pessimistic for now. That's just for now. But there is a period of new things to come out. But it's up to the US people now. Do nothing and get trodden on by your government, or wake up to the fact of what has been going on behind your back and take action. Really go and give them hell. It's your legal rights to do so. I really think that it all depends on this, and the government don't want this. So that's why they're being a little bit cautious as of late, if you haven't already noticed. This mess is playing out exactly like the 1929 crash. It's uncanny. And in no way am I a conspiracy theorist, but this is a financial terrorism act to bring more power to the rich and to try and bring a more control homeostasis to the world and government. And that is the next big trend that I see starting to come. More power, more control. More power, more control. Even a close down of the world and global financial markets if they have to. Why? Because we are dealing with an economic failure, not just a market failure, an economic failure that we have not seen before. Do you think they're going to just stand around and do nothing? No. When will people start to realize and start to wake up to what has been going on? Has your friends woken up yet? Has your relatives woken up? Has your neighbor? Maybe for a few they have, but for most, I'd say no. Now, I do have some exciting news, because a big corporate company here in Australia wants to do some work with me in regards to what I've been doing here. And I mean, I must admit they were flashing the dollar signs too, but I mean, I must add, I'll see how things play out there, but I really feel that my main concern here, my main goal, is to help the little guy out on the street. Somehow I don't really want to help these big companies profit from some very powerful information, while the little guy in the street is left neck deep in water with problems. And at this stage, I don't think that's the moral thing to do. Hey, while I'm on the topic too, a big shout out goes out to everyone. Thank you for your kind words. It really does mean a lot. I spend a lot of time doing this, so thanks, really. I appreciate that very much. Just know for now I am still here. I will post until I am able to, and if you're getting some great advice and acting upon that, and acting upon some information, good for you. Good for you. All the best. Okay, enough for now. Got to run. My email link is to the side on the right for those of you who were asking. I do try to answer all those emails. I'm very busy at the moment. Thank you for listening. Enjoy your day, and I will talk to you all again very soon.